Chapter 1. Heaven's Descent. Azure Star. Dusk Cloud City. High noon. The sunlight was mild, the breeze just right. In a private ward of Dusk Cloud First Hospital, a pale-faced youth lay on the bed with his eyes shut. System. Ding. Soul binding in progress. System. Ding. Binding successful. You have obtained the infinite plunder and acceleration system. Asterisk. System. We wish you a pleasant life. Asterisk. What? Ryan Gunn cracked his eyes open in a daze and gave his head a groggy shake. Bro, you're finally awake. Do you have any idea? I was worried sick. Beside him, Lucy Gunn flung herself onto him, eyes brimming with tears. HSS's. A stabbing pain lanced through his chest, snapping him back to his senses. He swept his gaze around the room and realized he was lying in a hospital bed. A cluster of people stood around him, and the moment they saw him wake, every one of them let out a breath of relief. Ryan could hardly believe it. Thank you, Mr. Gunn. A voice like clear spring water rang out. A slender woman, beautiful enough to shame an immortal, stepped up to the bedside, her eyes full of gratitude and apology as she looked at him. Ryan stared back, dumbstruck. Rosalind Lynn, what was going on here? War, savage beasts, battlefields strewn with corpses. Scene after scene surged up in his mind. Wait. I've been reborn. Mr. Gunn. Under his stare, Rosalind's cheeks flushed and her composure wavered. Sorry, my mind was elsewhere just now. Ryan's expression turned a touch awkward, but inside, he could barely contain his excitement. I really have been reborn. He remembered it with perfect clarity. Right before the holographic game Heaven's Descent went live, he, still a hot-blooded boy back then, had stepped in to save Rosalind Lynn, and taken a knife to the chest for it, bleeding out into unconsciousness and waking up in a hospital. And now that the same familiar scene was unfolding before him, it could only mean one thing: he truly had been reborn. Reborn 5 years into the past, no less, to the day before Heaven's Descent launched. Heaven's Descent. The mere thought of those two words made his gaze darken. Heaven's Descent was a hyper-immersive virtual MMO that the Azure Alliance had built through their super-intelligence, the Heavenly DAO system. A player needed only to bind their consciousness through a simple headset to step seamlessly into its world. Its near-flawless realism left every other virtual game on the market in the dust. Within a single month of open beta, it had drawn in fully half the population of the entire planet. A veritable second world for humankind. On top of that, the game ran on a 2-to-1 time ratio with reality, effectively stretching out every player's lifespan. And to promote it, the Azure Alliance had thrown open a currency exchange system. In-game money could be converted directly into real-world Azure coin. In other words, play well enough, and becoming a billionaire was no longer a daydream. But none of that was what mattered most. Having already lived an entire life, Ryan knew all too well that the arrival of Heaven's Descent and the Heavenly DAO system was nowhere near as simple as it appeared. As the game progressed, it would gradually unlock a feature called virtual synchronization. The attributes, abilities, and items a player earned in-game could be carried over into the real world. But that was no blessing. Because once virtual synchronization was complete, the monsters and bosses of the game world would spill into reality as well, launching a full-scale invasion of the human world and bringing down a catastrophe without precedent. In his last life, for reasons of his own, Ryan had entered the game world a full month later than everyone else. And in there, 1 step behind meant 100 steps behind. Every resource, every opportunity, every item, he had been left far in the dust by other players. He'd clawed his way back up on sheer talent, but when the War of Cataclysm finally erupted, he had died on the battlefield all the same. This time, though, he had come back, and nothing would be able to stand in his way. He glanced at Lucy Gunn, still bawling her eyes out against his chest, then ruffled her hair with helpless affection and, ignoring the searing pain in his body, pulled her into his arms. If there was one regret from his past life, it was Lucy's death. It had cut him to the bone. In this life, he would never let it happen again. Mr. Gunn, my name is Rosalind Lynn. Thank you for stepping in last night and saving my life. Her clear, limpid eyes were fixed on him, 2 faint clouds of pink still lingering on her fair cheeks. It had all happened so suddenly the night before. In the end, the thugs had flown into a rage and drawn weapons, meaning to kill, but Ryan had held the line single-handed and forced them all back. He'd taken a wound for it, yet in Rosalind's eyes, the figure of this slightly gaunt, undernourished young man had seemed remarkably tall and imposing. It was nothing. Just a small thing. Ryan gave a faint smile and waved it off, only to pull at his wound, the pain making the corner of his mouth twitch as he hissed in a breath. HMPH, always showing off. Just a small thing, he says, look at the state you're in. Lucy's eyes were red, tears clinging to her lashes like rain on pear blossoms. Heh. Ryan smiled, sheepish. The truth was, Rosalind was a good girl. She'd done a great deal for him in his last life too, only, in the end, she hadn't escaped that catastrophe either. So, Mr. Gunn. Just call me by my name. Mr. Gunn. Sounds too stiff. All right, then, Ryan, there's something I'd like to talk over with you, if that's all right. The instant the words left her mouth, her little face went scarlet and her composure scattered. It was the way his name landed. Spoken softly like that, with her leaning in close, calling him by name for the very first time, it came out carrying all the unintended intimacy of a young bride whispering some secret to her husband, all too easy to misread. Go ahead, Ryan said, calm as still water, not a flicker crossing his face. The man from his past life had long since been honed into something seasoned and worldly, not a trace of the greenness you'd expect from an 18-year-old showed on his features. You seem rather handy in a fight. Going 1 against 5 the night before and holding his own was proof enough that he had some real skill. I get by, Ryan answered evenly. He might look a little undernourished, but he'd hauled bricks on construction sites for a few years, his core strength was nothing to scoff at, and he trained in his spare time besides, which put him well above the average person in a scrap. Here's the thing, I'm planning to start a Heaven's Descent gaming studio. If you're willing, would you join it as a member of the combat team? Rosalind looked at him, her eyes brimming with hope. Don't worry, the pay and benefits will be better than your old job, guaranteed. And I'll throw in housing and gaming gear, free of charge. What do you say? Ryan felt himself tempted. Heaven's Descent would open its public beta at 8 tonight, and every game login rig out there had already been snapped up. If he wanted to dive in and start leveling the instant it launched, joining Rosalind's studio was as good as it got. What about my sister? Don't worry, Lucy can come along too. Deal. Ryan agreed without hesitation. At that, the corners of Rosalind's mouth curved up, a happy smile blooming across her face. She owed him her life, and once she'd learned he'd been toiling under sun and wind hauling bricks on a construction site, she couldn't help wanting to do something for him in return. Absolutely not. I object. In the ward, a young man in a suit knit his brows at her words and stepped forward. This is far too rash. Edwin, this is my decision to make. Rosalind's delicate brows drew together, and the smile slowly drained from her face. Edwin, Ryan started, and the instant he laid eyes on the man, his gaze sank like a stone. So it was him. Chapter 2, The System Awakens. # system activated. In his last life, this kid had been a traitor. Ryan's eyes narrowed a fraction as they fixed on the sharply suited Edwin Shaw. Enough. It's my studio. I make the calls. Rosalind Lynn's delicate brows drew together as she spoke, her voice flat. Roz. Not another word. She shot Edwin a glare, then turned back to Ryan, a faint smile surfacing on her face. I'll have 2 login devices sent over tonight. Just focus on resting. I'll come see you again tomorrow. Thank you, Ryan said, and meant it. The login devices out on the market had long since sold out. The next batch wouldn't go on sale for at least another week. For Ryan, that was very bad news, so Rosalind's help made him genuinely glad. This time, he wouldn't be left forever in everyone else's dust the way he had been in his last life. One by one, the others filed out of the ward, until only Ryan and his little sister, Lucy Gunn, remained. Lucy, get some sleep. Looking at her red, swollen eyes, his heart ached. The 2 of them had been orphans since childhood, leaning on each other to survive. Just how deep the bond between them ran couldn't be captured in a few words. No, I'm not tired. Lucy shook her head and wrapped her small, soft hands around his large one. You can't go pulling reckless stunts like that anymore, you hear me? Watching her puff out her cheeks in a put-on pout, Ryan couldn't help snorting out a laugh. This little sister of his was just too adorable. You're not allowed to laugh. Meanie. Cheeks flushed, she flung herself at him. Ah. Ow ow ow. My wound. Ag. By 7 that evening, night had fallen, and pinpricks of starlight dotted the sky beyond the window. Ryan gazed out at the stars, lost in thought. He'd been given a second life. The heavens had handed him a chance to start over. No matter what, he had to seize it. He would not let the tragedies of his last life repeat. Forget the grand picture. At the very least, he would keep the people closest to him safe. His mind was packed with 5 years of game experience. The moment he entered, he was certain he could pull far ahead of the pack and ramp up his strength fast. He was deep in thought, already plotting how he'd carve his way through Heaven's Descent, when a soft creak sounded, the door swung open and a cute little head poked in. School's out. He drew his gaze back toward the doorway. Tomorrow's the weekend, so we got out early today. I made you duck soup specially. Lucy came in beaming, cupping the bowl in both hands, and crossed to the window. Good girl. He ruffled her hair fondly. Knock knock knock. Asterisk. Come in. These are the 2 login devices from Miss Lin. Please check them over. A man in a suit and dark sunglasses held out 2 elegantly packaged boxes. Thanks. Give my thanks to your young lady. Ryan looked down at the 2 boxes in his hands, a flicker of excitement in his eyes, and nodded to the man. Bro, what are you so worked up about? You never used to play games at all. Lucy was thoroughly puzzled, unable to see where his sudden delight was coming from. Her brother was acting strange. Had that fainting spell knocked something loose? That's because you don't get it. This Heaven's Descent is no ordinary game. Ryan smiled and ruffled her hair again. Starting today, you come straight home after school and play with me. You're serious? Lucy stared at him, dumbstruck. He was usually strict with her, never let her touch games, supervised her homework every single day. But today, why the sudden change of heart? Of course, Ryan knew all too well what this game would come to mean for humanity. If he didn't make the most of every moment now, then when catastrophe fell, it would be far too late. The memory of what had happened to Lucy in his last life cut at him like a knife. This time, he absolutely would not repeat it. Bro, why are you suddenly being so nice? What's that supposed to mean? Was I not nice before? He knit his brows, feigning indignation. Never mind. All right, let's hurry up and finish eating, then get ready to log in. Heaven's Descent opens at 8. We can't drag the studio down. He smiled. You're a member of the studio now too, you know. No slacking. Got it. I know. Stinky brother. The login device was an antique bronze ring set with a single blue gem, the key component for connecting to Heaven's Descent. He slipped it onto his finger and pressed it to the center of his brow. In an instant, blue light enveloped him. System. Ding. Soul binding successful. Log into Heaven's Descent. Asterisk. Hearing that familiar prompt echo through his mind, the corner of Ryan's mouth curled up. At last, he was about to step into this world brimming with boundless opportunity and challenge. Lucy, remember to watch the whole opening cinematic. It'll do you good. Got it. She didn't ask why. In her eyes, her brother always had her best interests at heart. If he told her to do something, there was surely a reason. Instructions given, Ryan selected log in. The world around him snapped to pitch black, and the next instant, he was standing in the middle of a vast battlefield. Yellow sand swirled across the sky, corpses littered the ground. A reek of blood and slaughter rolled over him. Even watching the opening a second time, he couldn't keep his heart from shuddering. The familiar scene drew a trace of bitterness to his lips. He remembered this place, the battlefield of gods and demons. In his last life, this was where the real world and the world of Heaven's Descent had begun to merge. Looking back on it now, it stirred something melancholy in him. The 3-minute cinematic showed the players a Heaven's Descent continent teeming with countless races. In its final frames, the continent collapsed, gods and demons annihilated one another, and at last the raging flames resolved into 2 blazing, golden characters, Heaven's Descent. Phew. Finally over. Just as the image froze on its final frame, another prompt rang in his ears. System. Congratulations. As one of the first 10,000 players to finish the opening cinematic, you have earned a hidden reward. The system grants you a talent. Please choose. Asterisk. Whoosh. Light flashed, and a screen appeared before him bearing 3 talent options. Combo. Each time you land a combo effect, your next attack deals 1 additional point of damage. Asterisk. Penetration. Attacks deal an extra 20 points of penetrating damage. Asterisk. Block. Negates 20 points of incoming damage. Asterisk. Honestly, Ryan wanted all 3, a shame the system only allowed him to pick 1. He frowned, torn. In the early game, talents like these were practically divine skills. If only he could take them all. System. Ding. Analyzing host's wish. System. System activation conditions met. System. Infinite plunder and acceleration system successfully activated. We wish you a pleasant life. Asterisk. System. Ding. Plunder successful. You have obtained the talent. Combo. Asterisk. System. Ding. Plunder successful. You have obtained the talent. Penetration. Asterisk. System. Ding. Plunder successful. You have obtained the talent. Block. Asterisk. This. What just happened? Ryan was stunned. How had all 3 talents simply landed in his lap? A system. Wasn't there only supposed to be the game's system? What on earth was going on? A blessing in disguise. And then, while he was still wrapped in a fog of confusion, a ball of white light bloomed in his mind. He reached out to touch it tentatively, and a system interface unfolded right there in his head. Infinite plunder and acceleration system. Level 1. Plunder. Can plunder all things. Currently unlocked. Attribute plunder. Asterisk. Acceleration. Can accelerate all things. Currently unlocked. 10x attack speed. Asterisk. Asterisk Express. 0.10 Express can be used to raise the system's level and unlock more functions. Asterisk. The plain description left the reborn Ryan too thunderstruck to gather his wits for a long moment. He already carried 5 years of veteran experience from his last life. Pair that with this system, and wouldn't becoming invincible be as easy as breathing? Heart pounding with excitement, he couldn't help throwing back his head and laughing. His last life had been bitter and unfulfilled. This one, he would live magnificently. System. Ding. Data anomaly. Asterisk. System. Ding. Data anomaly. Asterisk. All at once, a system prompt thundered through the pitch-black sky overhead, shaking heaven and earth. System. Repairing data. System. Data repair failed. Asterisk. In less than a minute the prompts kept coming, and as the final repair failed rang out, an immense pressure crashed down from above and bore down on him. Boom. Asterisk. A bolt of red lightning fell from the sky and struck him dead on, dropping him to the ground. In the same instant, a lightning-shaped red gem sank into his body and fused, at last, with his heart. System. Ding. Heart of Heaven's punishment successfully bound. Asterisk. A prompt sounded through his swimming senses. Before he could even begin to make sense of it, the black space around him dissolved, and the next second, his head spinning, he found himself standing atop a vast, ancient altar. Before him hovered a palm-sized little angel, beating snow-white wings and clad in silver armor. Welcome, adventurer from another world. Please choose your path of advancement. Whoosh. A screen materialized before him, displaying 2 great categories, physical and magic. Having created a character in his last life, Ryan knew this well. In Heaven's Descent, classes split into 2 great factions, physical and magic, and each faction branched into a sprawling number of subclasses. At character creation a player could only choose a faction, whether they could later change class depended on how they performed in the game. I choose physical, he decided without hesitation. He'd been a swordsman in his last life, experience-wise, nothing suited him better. Selection failed. Reason unknown. What? Ryan's gaze sank. After a long hesitation, he could only sigh and choose magic. Selection failed. Reason unknown. Quote. Swallowing the urge to curse, he huffed out several heavy breaths. Then I won't choose either of them. The corner of his mouth twitched, his face full of helplessness. In his last life, only those with insufficient talent had been unable to pick either class faction, and the odds of that were 1 in 100,000. Such players could still level and fight, but they couldn't change into a combat class, which locked them out of class-exclusive skills and bonuses. Over time, they'd be left farther and farther behind. As compensation, the system let these players change into a wider range of life classes. Ordinarily, a regular combat player could take only one life class, but a non-combat player was different. Unable to become a combat class, they were allowed up to 6 life class advancements. It looked like decent compensation, enough to make such players prized recruits for the major guilds. But for Ryan, who knew the future, handing your fate to others was the height of foolishness. What he wanted was to be strong enough on his own, not to survive under someone else's protection. Selection successful. Please allocate your starting attributes. At last a faint smile touched the little angel's face. It waved a hand, and a holy white light settled over him. System. Ding. Congratulations, you have received 10 free attribute points. Please allocate them as you wish. Asterisk. Quote, comma, quote. His mouth twitched hard. A non-combat class started with only 10 points, a world apart from the 20 free points a combat class got. But it was done. There was nothing for it but to open the attribute panel and allocate. And then he froze completely. Because beside his charm and luck attributes, a tiny little plus sign had appeared. Which meant he could pour points into luck and charm. Normally, everyone's starting luck and charm were both 0, raisable only later through gear, special quests, and rare items. But now, in a blessing born of disaster, Ryan could add to these 2 fixed attributes directly. In his last life he'd never once heard of a non-combat player having this privilege so early. Was the system bugged? He gave his head a shake. Rather than dwell on it, he started furiously pumping points into luck. Charm governed the trigger rate of hidden quests. Luck governed item drop rates and the success checks for all sorts of things. For the reborn Ryan, apart from the few quests that specifically required a fixed charm value, the trigger methods for most hidden quests were burned into his memory, thanks to the years he'd spent cramming guides on the forums to chase the people ahead of him, until it all felt etched into his bones. So for him, what mattered most was luck. What caught him off guard, though, was that because starting attributes had fixed caps, luck stopped accepting points at 5. Looking at his remaining 5 free points, he thought for a moment, then dumped them all into Constitution. 5 points of Constitution raised his HP to 50. Otherwise, with no combat attribute bonuses at all, his starting HP would be a mere 1 tap from a wild monster and he'd be dead. As for offense and defense, with the penetration and block talents in hand, he'd manage just fine in the early game. Now, you need only choose a name, and you may set off for the world of Heaven's Descent. The little angel winked at him playfully. Big gun. Name registered. Enjoy your time in the game. The angel pressed its palms together. Light welled up from the altar, and the next second, Ryan vanished from atop it. To think someone cursed by the heart of heaven's punishment actually exists, pouting, the little angel murmured to itself, gazing at the spot where he'd disappeared. Elsewhere, the world spun around Ryan, and the next second, he was standing in a run-down little town. System. Ding. You have arrived at Starter Village No. 10,086, Sunward Town. Enjoy your time in the game. Asterisk. Sunward Town. He blinked, and then the corner of his mouth lifted into a smile. Now this really is a good place to land. Chapter 3. Sunward Town. Sunward Town. He'd heard of it back in his last life. Rumor had it the place hid a secret tied to a divine artifact. No one had ever turned up so much as a clue, but in the searching, players had unearthed plenty of other hidden quests, and to Ryan as he was now, those hidden quests amounted to a fortune. A plan took shape in his mind almost at once, and he set off for the central plaza of Sunward Town. Village Chief, is there anything I can help you with? After half an hour in line, Ryan finally got a chance to speak to the white-haired old man before him, who leaned on a cane. Victor Fane, Chief of Sunward Town. Past 70, frail and sickly. Level 10. Cough, cough, thank you for your concern, young man. I'm in need of some medicinal herbs. I was hoping you might gather them for me. System. Ding. Quest triggered. Victor Fane's request. Asterisk. Victor Fane's request. Head to the forest outside Sunward Town and collect 20 boar bones, 10 ox horns, and 5 bone-strong herbs. Reward: 2000 EXP, 1 gold coin, 1 common grade weapon. Asterisk. The game had only just launched, so everyone was decked out in the starter gear the system handed out: wretched stuff, inferior grade equipment. In Heaven's Descent, gear ran from low to high as follows: inferior, common, black iron, bronze, silver, gold, amethyst, obsidian, celestial, godly, and forbidden. Drop rates in Heaven's Descent were brutally low, so in a starter village most players carried inferior grade gear, common grade was scarce, and black iron rarer still. The town chief's quest reward was a common grade item, and a weapon, no less, which in the opening days of the game was practically a divine treasure. Naturally, it drew most players to come claim the quest. What they didn't know was that, while the quest could only be completed once, you could stack the quest materials to earn multiplied rewards. Turn in double the required materials, and you got double the reward. Turn in 10 times the materials, and you were granted a bonus black iron grade weapon on top of 100 gold coins. The black iron weapon went without saying, but gold, the hard currency of the game, was worth a great deal. It was still the early game, the currency exchange system hadn't opened yet, gold was in desperately short supply, and in-game money was being driven to sky-high prices. In his last life, he'd entered the game to make money in the first place, and he remembered reading a report claiming a single gold coin could sell for as much as 200 Azure coin. Only, in his last life he hadn't caught the first wave of login devices. By the time he'd bought one and gotten in, a full month had passed since launch. By then the currency exchange system had opened, and the rate had settled at around 10 Azure coin per gold. Even so, he'd still made a tidy sum grinding for cash in-game. This time was different. Thanks to the login device Rosalind had gifted him, he was in from the very start, and right now, gold was worth a guaranteed 200 Azure coin. But money wasn't the whole reason Ryan was taking this quest. After turning in 10 times the materials in a single go, a hidden quest line would trigger, complete the follow-up quests, and you could advance into a hidden life class. Since some unknown cause barred Ryan from a combat class, those hidden life classes were exactly where he had to set his sights now. After all, a few of them came with combat ability that was nothing to scoff at. Quest accepted, Ryan didn't waste a second and bolted straight for the edge of town. This one quest alone would keep him grinding for a good long while. As he passed the town exit, his gaze swept over a down-and-out man beside the old well at the gate, a figure entirely cloaked in a black robe, his features impossible to make out. A cluster of eager players was crowded around him right now, chattering away, trying to pry a quest out of him. The sight made Ryan smile wryly and shake his head. He'd seen this one called out on the forums, a trap the Heavenly Tao system had planted to fleece people. There was no hidden quest at all. He walked out of town without a backward glance. The heart of Heaven's punishment. Interesting. The black-robed figure, who had been leaning against the old well as still as solid stone, shot a glance toward the direction Ryan had left, the corner of his mouth curling. Then he went back to resting with his eyes shut, unmoved as a mountain while the players around him squabbled on. Damn it, what is going on? Where's my express? In a corner of the forest outside Sunward Town, Ryan stared at his express bar, unmoved after he'd killed a wild boar, and was completely dumbfounded. He was level 0, reaching level 1 took 100 express. A boar was a level 3 monster, so killing one should have rewarded him 20 express. But he'd gotten nothing. What was happening? His gaze sank, and he suddenly remembered the system bound in his mind. He sent his thoughts inward, touched the white orb of light, and opened it. Infinite Plunder and Acceleration System. Level 1. Plunder. Can plunder all things. Currently unlocked. Attribute Plunder. Asterisk. Acceleration. Can accelerate all things. Currently unlocked. 10x attack speed. Asterisk. Asterisk Express. 10 thousandths Express can be used to raise the system's level and unlock more functions. Asterisk. So that was it. His expression shifted. The system was the cause. Did that mean leveling up required leveling the system first? At that rate it'd be a cold day in hell before he made it out of the starter village. System. Ding. The host's inability to level is not caused by the system. Please be advised. Asterisk. Not the system. Then why can you gain express when I can't? System. Ding. Analyzing. System. Analysis complete. The system absorbs only half of the express you earn as leveling express. You gain 20 express from killing the boar, so the system has absorbed 10 of it. Asterisk. And the other 10 express. System. Affected by the Heart of Heaven's punishment. Within your body, the other 10 express has been directly voided. Asterisk. The Heart of Heaven's punishment. His face changed. He suddenly recalled the red lightning that had fallen from the sky after he'd obtained his talents. His head had been swimming at the time, and he'd thought he'd faintly heard a prompt, Heart of Heaven's punishment successfully bound, and dismissed it as a trick of the ear. Now it was clear that was no illusion at all. He hurriedly opened his attribute panel, but combed through every corner as he might, he found nothing about any Heart of Heaven's punishment. System. The Heart of Heaven's punishment has already fused with your heart, host. Asterisk. What? Ryan yanked open the front of his shirt and looked down at his chest. And sure enough, over his heart, a red lightning bolt mark had appeared. His mind abruptly sank, his spiritual sense seemingly drawn by some mysterious force. Through the lightning mark, he glimpsed the Heart of Heaven's punishment fused with his heart. His heart was now wrapped in red lightning, and within it, impossibly, 10 hollow slots had appeared. The upper ones were shaped like the sun, moon, and stars. The lower 7 were shaped like bolts of lightning, leaving Ryan utterly bewildered. What in the world was this thing? Chapter 4. The Heart of Heaven's punishment. System. Data sampling is limited. The system cannot yet determine the specific function of the Heart of Heaven's punishment. Asterisk. Quote. Ryan sat slumped on the ground, saying nothing. He'd thought a second life would mean a smooth, triumphant climb. Who could have guessed that, right at the very start, he'd be hamstrung by this so-called Heart of Heaven's punishment? Was he going to be stuck unable to level, trapped in the starter village forever? System. No need to worry, host. The system has finished analyzing the express voiding caused by the Heart of Heaven's punishment. Once you raise the system to level 2, you will unlock Express Plunder, which will let you meet the requirements to level up. Asterisk. Express Plunder. System. Correct. Plundered Express will not be voided by the Heart of Heaven's punishment, so rest assured. Asterisk. He could plunder even Express. The stone weighing on Ryan's chest finally dropped. Now that he had a direction, there was no reason to keep moping. It was just 10,000 Express. He'd grind it out. He had the dense spawn points of Sunward Town memorized, and with the 3 powerful talents he'd picked up at the start, mindless grinding would fill the system's 10,000 Express requirement soon enough. With 10x attack speed, he could put down a wild boar in a single second. And as he ground away, the power of attribute plunder began to show. System. Ding. Wild boar slain. Plundered 1 point of strength. Asterisk. System. Ding. Wild boar slain. Plundered 1 point of constitution. Asterisk. System. Ding. Wild boar slain. Plundered 1 point of agility. Asterisk. Comma. Plunder success rate was tied to luck. In 10 minutes Ryan killed over 100 boars, but the points added up to just 10. His attribute plunder rate was still under 10%. Still, something beat nothing. His attributes already rivaled other players' starting stats. Name. Big Gun. Level. O. Class. Non-combat. HP. 80/80ths. Stamina. 1/1. Combat attributes. Strength. 5 Constitution. 8 Agility. 2 Intelligence. O. Spirit. 0. Fixed attributes. Charm. O. Luck. 5. Skills. None. Talents. Combo. Penetration. Block. 2 hours later, Ryan had slain a full 1,000 boars and, as he'd hoped, piled the system's express up to 10,000. As the Infinite Plunder and Acceleration system hit 10,000 EXP, a Level Up button appeared at the bottom of the interface. Without hesitation, he tapped it. System. Ding. System level up successful. Asterisk. The milky orb in his mind flared bright, held for some 10 seconds, then settled back to normal. Infinite Plunder and Acceleration system. Level 2. Plunder. Can plunder all things. Currently unlocked. Attribute Plunder, Express Plunder. Asterisk. Acceleration. Can accelerate all things. Currently unlocked. 10x attack speed, 10x movement speed. Asterisk. Asterisk Express. 0/100,000ths. At level 2 the leveling express had jumped tenfold, but plunder and acceleration had each gained a new ability. He turned his attention to Asterisk Express Plunder, and the precise method surfaced in his mind at once. Express Plunder. Kill a player to gain the express they lose on death. Asterisk. The plain description made his gaze sink. Killing players to level, he'd probably become public enemy number 1 before long. But it was the only road open to him. Under the heart of heaven's punishment, this was the only way he could level now. Whatever. I'll cross each bridge as I come to it. His eyes dimmed slightly. He could keep growing stronger through attribute plunder, true, but leaving the starter village required level 10 or higher, and he had no intention of being left here forever. Open field PK was unavoidable. The 1,000 boars pushed his stats up again. He was still level 0, but his attributes had multiplied several times over from half an hour ago. Name. Big Gun. Level. O. Class. Non-combat. HP. 250/250ths. Stamina. 1/1. Attack. 30+1. Defense. 25+3. Combat attributes. Strength. 30 Constitution. 25 Agility. 10 Intelligence. 0 Spirit. 0. A normal player gained 10 attribute points per level. The system evenly distributed 5 across the 5 base combat attributes, while the other 5 were free points to spend as the player liked. Stat-wise, Ryan now matched a level 4 regular combat player. And the current number 1 on Sunward Town's level rankings happened to be exactly level 4, so leveling aside, his attributes already sat in the top tier. A pity he was still only level 0, unable to equip anything the boars had dropped. He glanced at the loot on the ground and smiled wryly. The early game gave you a 20-slot bag, so storage was tight, he'd have to be choosy. This was all money. 1,000 boars, plus his 5 points of luck, had dropped over 20 pieces of gear alone. Looks like I'll have to head back and offload a batch of this. He was weighing the gear in his bag against the pieces on the ground when a pack of foul-faced players came charging over and swarmed him. Kid, this stuff is ours. The stubble-jawed brute at the front gripped a tiger head saber, his eyes fixed greedily on the loot at Ryan's feet. He could plainly see that, besides some potions and copper coins, there were actual pieces of gear, and he was already level 3, having scraped out only a single level 2 inferior saber and a piece of crude leather armor for all his trouble. That was how heartbreakingly low the drop rates ran in Heaven's Descent. No matter what, he was swallowing this loot. Besides, this kid was in starter gear, and appraisal pegged him as a level 0 rookie, nothing to fear. This stuff dropped from monsters I killed, Ryan said mildly, eyes narrowing. Bull. This is the Boar Woods. Every monster here is level 3 and up. A level 0 rookie, killing monsters here. Don't make me laugh. Contempt flickered in the brute's eyes. Not bothering with another word, he waved his men on. Send this kid back to Sunward Town. The stuff's ours. Yes, sir. His underlings rushed in, nasty grins on their faces. Open field PK was nothing new to them from other games, though in Heaven's Descent, this was their first job. Ryan's gaze cooled. Fine. Then they could be the ones to test out Express Plunder. As they swarmed in, he gripped his starter sword and shifted his feet. Swish. Asterisk. 10x movement speed triggered. To the others, the world blurred, and the starter sword had already tapped each of them at the throat. 5 men. 2 strokes each. -40. -20. -40. -20. Weak point crits stacked with penetration damage. A single stroke shaved off 60 HP with ease. 2 strokes apiece, and the brute's 5 underlings dropped in the blink of an eye, dissolving into wisps of white light. More potions and copper coins scattered to the ground. System. Ding. Plunder successful. You gained 200 express. Asterisk. System. Ding. Plunder successful. You gained 200 express. Asterisk. System. Ding. Plunder successful. You. 5 prompts in a row. Ryan's express surged, golden light flashing twice over him, shooting him straight to level 2. You little. The brute paled in shock. Never in his wildest dreams had he imagined this beneath notice rookie was a wolf in sheep's clothing. He flashed his own ID, Slaughtercharge. Listen here, Slaughtercharge blustered, Don't do anything stupid. I'm with Slaughter the World. Cross me, and you'll have nothing but trouble coming your way. Slaughter the World. The corner of Ryan's mouth curled, a thread of cold light drifting through his narrowed eyes. Scenes from his last life surfaced again. Any other guild, and he might have given it a second thought. But someone from Slaughter the World. He wouldn't hesitate for an instant. Swish. Asterisk. One stride forward, and Ryan swung his sword, sending Slaughtercharge back to Sunward Town. Thump. Asterisk. Two pieces of gear dropped, an inferior saber and a piece of crude leather armor. Garbage. He compared them against his bag, shook his head in regret, scooped up the potions and copper coins, and turned to leave. Had the dead Slaughtercharge witnessed this, he might have died of rage all over again. That was gear he'd ground 2 whole hours for, called garbage. That guy, he's incredible. In a distant corner, a pair of beautiful eyes was trained on the man who'd single-handedly crushed Slaughtercharge's crew, shock flickering in their depths. Big sister, should we go over? Forget it. Let's go level somewhere else. The woman shook her head slowly and turned to leave. Approaching now would only invite misunderstanding. Boss, I got killed in Sunward Town. At the resurrection altar in Sunward Town, Slaughtercharge's face was dark as he spoke into his comm. I'd like your permission to lead a squad and ruin that kid for good. Be efficient. As for the rest, I won't spell it out. What matters most is resources and levels. Don't worry, I won't disappoint you. Chapter 5. Monsters storm the town. With his bag full, Ryan had no choice but to set his grinding aside for now and head back to Sunward Town. He found a good spot in the central plaza, spent a single gold coin to set up a stall, laid his gear out on the rack for all to see, and then simply settled into rest with his eyes shut. Killing Slaughtercharge's crew had carried him smoothly from level 2 to level 3, though, thanks to the Heart of Heaven's punishment, he'd received only 6 free attribute points, not even the 5 evenly distributed points every level normally granted. Ryan showed no displeasure, however. He could plunder attributes, kill enough monsters, and points were never in short supply. What was worth noting was that his free attribute points were no ordinary thing, they could raise his fixed attributes too. Which meant luck and charm could both be boosted with free points. For him, that was tremendous news. So without a second thought, he poured all 6 into his fixed attributes, 5 into luck, 1 into charm. Just like that, his luck finally hit 10, and his charm was no longer 0. And as his charm rose, something curious happened. Players passing his stall turned to look back at a noticeably higher rate. Few players were willing to spend a whole gold coin on a stall, so Ryan stood out starkly in Sunward Town, and with that 1 point of charm, it quickly drew a crowd. Damn, these are all common grade pieces, and level 3, every one. Who is this guy? How's he this good? One player gaped at the rack of uniformly common grade gear, jaw nearly hitting the floor. With Heaven's Descent's pitiful drop rates, a player counted himself blessed to own a single inferior grade piece that had a level requirement. Yet here was this nobody, out of nowhere, laying out a heap of common grade gear. How could it not stun them? In Heaven's Descent, to protect player privacy, appraisal could only read a target's level. No other attributes could be detected, unless one side started a malicious PK, which exposed their ID. Hey, friend, you selling this boar hide armor for 1 gold? I'll pay 10 gold. I'll take all of it. I'll do 20. 10 gold poppers, crawl out of the way. The crowd squabbled on, more and more people gathering, most of them there just for the show. Slaughter the World is buying out the lot. Everyone else, clear off. A cold voice rang out, and a pack of players were shoved roughly aside, furious but silent. Slaughter the World was one of the 9 provinces, 100 great guilds, not something lone players like them could afford to offend. It's you. Slaughtercharge recognized Ryan at a glance, his expression flickering. Brother Charge, good to see you in one piece. Ryan smiled at the starter-geared Slaughtercharge. But Slaughtercharge kept his composure, choosing not to dredge up their earlier clash. He drew a deep breath, forced down his anger, and said, I'm here to buy gear. You wouldn't refuse to sell to me, would you? How could I? A customer's a customer. Peace breeds profit. Long as the price is right, we trade. Ryan shrugged. He didn't take Slaughtercharge seriously in the least. Even if the man came for him later, with gear like this, he had nothing to fear. He was part of Rosalind Lynn's studio now, and a studio didn't keep idle hands. On his first day on the job, he had to show some good faith. Besides, he genuinely needed gold to fund his next plans. Take what profit you can. Ryan turned no one away. With one condition, of course, you had to be able to pay. 10 gold per piece. However many you've got, I'll buy. Slaughtercharge's eyes hardened. Gold was already being driven to 220 Azure coin outside. 10 gold meant 2,200 Azure coin, a fortune for an ordinary player. And Ryan's stall held a full 20 pieces. Packaged together, that was over 40,000 Azure coin. The onlookers sucked in cold breaths at the thought, casting envious looks at Ryan. But Ryan was unmoved. He shook his head slowly. Too low. Having lived a second life, he knew exactly what this gear meant in the early game. Common grade it might be, but in a starter village 3 hours after launch, it was worth far more than 10 gold apiece. If he were selling, a common grade piece would fetch at least 20 gold right now, because in the opening game, owning stronger gear than everyone else meant reaping more of the starter village's resources. Quest rewards, field bosses, all of it rested on strength. And with this much gear in Ryan's hands, he was exactly the kind of prize any faction could only dream of. Think it over carefully, and decide soon. Otherwise, once other factions show up, swallowing this batch won't be so easy. Ryan sat steady as a mountain, not the least bit anxious. This was only the beginning. The real show was still to come. His slaughter in the Boar Woods had already met the trigger conditions for a certain hidden event, and if he simply stayed in Sunward Town for half an hour, it would fire. That would be the spectacular part. 20 gold apiece, I'll take them all. Sure enough, after Ryan's words, Slaughtercharge gritted his teeth and named 20 gold. Holy, did I hear that right? 20 gold apiece. Is he insane? What do you know? It's an investment. If Slaughter the World gets this gear now, they'll lock down the #1 spot in Sunward Town for sure. But where's all that gold coming from? Everyone's spending on potions just to stay alive grinding. Nobody's got money. I scraped together 20 silver and that nearly killed me. You really don't get it, do you? Behind every one of these big guilds is a major financial backer. Forget their dedicated gold farmers. Just buying gold off lone players at a premium would cover it easily. In Heaven's Descent, 1 gold equals 100 silver equals 10,000 copper, and with monster resources scarce in the early game, most players couldn't scrape together a single gold coin. Hold on, I'll pay 21 gold. Just then a woman's voice carried from afar, and a cluster of graceful female players parted the crowd to reach the stall. The one at their head wore a strip of purple veil across her face and a purple robe. Her beautiful eyes flicked over the starter-geared Ryan in surprise. Highest bidder wins. No objection to that, I assume. None at all, but I'll still have to check with our friend from Slaughter the World. This lovely lady's offering 21 gold for my gear. And you, 22. Slaughtercharge knit his brows and shot Ryan a glare. 25. The woman's delicate brows drew together as she spoke, voice cool. Who is she? This rich? You don't know. Have you never played a game before? That's Violet, one of the 9 provinces gaming world's top 10 beauties. Her guild, Clear Rain Pavilion, is one of the 100 great guilds, same as Slaughter the World. That impressive. 2 heavyweights clashing. Someone's going to get hurt. This'll be good. Ryan kept a calm face, but inside he was beaming. At this rate, he was guaranteed to make a killing. 25 going once, 25 going twice, 25. 30 gold. Slaughtercharge's eyes were bloodshot, his heart bleeding, but to keep Clear Rain Pavilion from winning, he went all in. Violet's brows pinched. 30 gold already exceeded her budget, so she'd resolved to give it up. She was no sucker. With that gold she could do far more a little later. For common grade gear, it wasn't worth it. ROAAAR. But just then, a sky-splitting roar of fury erupted from outside Sunward Town. Everyone froze and turned to look into the distance. The show begins. The corner of Ryan's mouth lifted, and a system prompt thundered across the heavens. System. Ding. Because the player, Big Gun, has slaughtered a great number of boars in the Boar Woods, the Jungle Boar King has been thoroughly enraged. In half an hour, the Jungle Boar King will lead its minions in an assault on Sunward Town. All players, prepare in advance. Asterisk. A monster siege. The crowd was stunned, but a heartbeat later, excited grins spread across their faces. Their levels were low. If they died, so be it. But once a siege boss went down, the rewards were always lavish. For them, this was a can't-lose deal. I'll pay 35 gold. Violet clenched her silver teeth and made her decision. With this gear, she'd hold an absolute edge against the Jungle Boar King, so she forced the price up to 35 apiece. 40 gold. Slaughtercharge's gaze sank, a cruel arc curling his lips. He'd just reported to his guild leader, and now, backed with resources, his ceiling had risen to 50 gold apiece. The guild's got a hidden quest to run, so this is the most gold I can allocate you. I'm sorry. Hearing the message through her comm, Violet's brows knit tight. She shook her head slowly and, unwilling but powerless, withdrew from the bidding. Sold. Congratulations to our friends from Slaughter the World. The gear is yours at 40 gold apiece. Many happy returns. Grinning, Ryan set the price to 40, and in an instant 800 gold landed in his account. Just like that, he'd become the richest man in Sunward Town. HMPH. I'll make you understand that Slaughter the World's gold isn't so easy to swallow. Gear in hand, Slaughtercharge's gaze sank. He sneered inwardly at the beaming Ryan, then led his people away. You're Violet, leader of Clear Rain Pavilion, aren't you? I've got a deal. Care to hear it? As he packed up his stall, Ryan looked at the dejected Violet and felt a stir of inspiration. You put up the money, I put in the work. I'll wrench that boss right out of Slaughter the World's hands. What do you say? Chapter 6. Secret of the Old Well. You're serious. Violet, who moments ago had been utterly deflated, fixed her gaze on him. Of course, but I'll need your Clear Rain Pavilion people to follow my lead. Rest assured, if you can help us take this boss, I'll pay 500 gold, Violet said. And every member of Clear Rain Pavilion will cooperate with you to the fullest. There's half an hour until the siege. In that time, I'd like to gather some materials. Ryan ran her through the materials needed for Village Chief Victor Fane's quest. True to a great guild's reach, Violet had the materials he needed assembled in no time. Ryan then collected 500 gold from her, told everyone to wait at the town gate, and bolted off into the depths of town. Big sister, do you really think he can pull it off? It's a monster siege. The boss's HP will be massively buffed, and we don't have good gear. Wrenching the boss out of Slaughter the World's hands, isn't that a bit absurd? We'll see. I sensed powerful confidence from him, and you saw how he wiped out Slaughtercharge's squad single-handedly in the Boar Woods. I don't think he'll let us down. Violet watched his retreating back, thinking it through. While the whole town busied itself preparing for the siege, Ryan rushed alone to Victor Fane's home. Because of the siege, the chief had retreated home to hide, and right now, only Ryan, who knew Sunward Town's layout inside out, could find him. Hello, Chief. I've brought the materials you needed. Ryan shouldered the door open and, before the old man could get a word out, dropped the materials on the floor. This, young man, you're truly remarkable. To bring so many materials, here, take this. It's your reward. System. Ding. Quest complete. You have received your reward. Asterisk. Golden light flashed over Ryan, carrying him to level 4. Quests dodge the heart of heaven's punishment too. The discovery cheered him a little. Then he turned his eyes to the black longsword in his hand. Black Iron Longsword. Grade. Black Iron. Attack plus 20, Strength plus 5, Agility plus 5, Attack Speed plus 10%. Level. 4. A Black Iron grade weapon. The very first in Sunward Town, and now it sat in Ryan's hands. Chief, this illness of yours, it doesn't look ordinary. Is there really no cure? Already familiar with the hidden storyline, Ryan stowed the weapon and cut straight to the point. Sigh, there is a way. But the prescription is ruined past saving, there's likely no hope. Then might I take a look at the prescription? Perhaps I can be of some help. A glint crossed Ryan's eyes as he steered the quest along the path the guides had laid out in his last life. Sigh. Very well, I'll let you see it. Victor Fane sighed, turned, and drew a battered little wooden box from under his bed. He opened it, and a tattered, antique prescription appeared before Ryan. I've prepared the other ingredients, but once the prescription was damaged, several of them went missing, and I no longer know what they are. Tattered prescription. A formula devised by the mystic spirit medicine king to treat Victor Fane's affliction. Now damaged. Asterisk. That was it. Excitement lit Ryan's face, his eyes locked on the tattered prescription. In his last life, someone had deciphered this formula, earned Victor Fane's letter of thanks, and been taken on as a disciple by the mystic spirit medicine king, becoming a formidable existence. Every player in Sunward Town could trigger this hidden quest, but the moment the formula was successfully deciphered, the quest would vanish for everyone. It was a one-of-a-kind hidden quest. Barely 3 hours after launch, no one but Ryan could have come this far, and with the guide burned into his memory, this mystic spirit medicine king was destined to be his. The formula was short 2 ingredients. One was in the hands of Sunward Town's apothecary, the other was on the very jungle boar king about to lay siege. I've got it figured out, Chief Fane. I'll have the rest of the ingredients for you shortly. Ryan tossed out the words and turned on his heel without another word. This, Victor Fane started, staring blankly after him, a thoughtful look in his eyes. The adventurer seemed to mean it. If he really could be cured, excitement stirred in the old man, and the hand on his cane began to tremble. At the apothecary, Boss Wayne was run off his feet by the booming trade. The siege had sent a flood of players in to buy potions, and he was grinning ear to ear. Boss Wayne, I want something. Ryan cut straight through the crowd to the counter. Whatever it is, go wait in line. Wayne waved him off impatiently. Were it not for Ryan's 1 point of charm, he'd have thrown him out already. Thump. Asterisk. Ryan's gaze cooled. He hauled out a large sack of gold and set it on the counter, a full 1,000 gold inside. Ha ha ha. Friend, step into the back room. Wayne's eyes lit with delight. Ignoring the other players entirely, he tugged Ryan into the guest room behind the shop. 1,000 gold. Next to that, the copper coin trade outside wasn't worth mentioning. Speak. What do you want to buy? Wayne asked. Anyone who could lay down 1,000 gold had to know his business. A fire spirit fruit. Ryan went straight to the point. 1,000 gold. Trade now, if you'll have it. A fire spirit fruit. That's a fine item. 1,000 gold is a little. Goodbye. Ryan wasted no more words and rose to leave. In his last life, Wayne had sold the fire spirit fruit at a clearly marked 1,000 gold. Now he wanted to gouge. Ryan had no intention of playing the sucker. Wait. 1,000 gold. Done. Wayne scrambled up and caught him, face anxious. Fire spirit fruit in hand, Ryan left through the back door, checked his remaining gold, and made his way to the old well at the town gate. Keeping a few dozen gold on him, he threw the remaining 300 straight into the well. The act left every player preparing for battle at the gate gaping. Damn, what's wrong with this guy? Tossing that much gold away. Hell, he could have just given it to me. Big sister, look, it's that guy. One of Violet's companions spotted Ryan and pointed from afar. Violet followed her gaze, and her brows knit despite herself when she saw what he was doing. This guy, what was he doing? Hey, interesting little fellow. Leaning against the tree by the old well, the man wrapped tight in the black robe shot Ryan a glance, then drew his eyes back, a smile curling at his lips. As for Ryan, he paid no mind at all to the baffled, "You're an idiot" looks around him. He pressed his palms together, shut his eyes, and made a devout wish to the well. Sunward Town was a most interesting starter village. In his last life he'd studied no end of its curiosities and strange tales, and this old well was one of them. It was a well of hope, said to have been forged by the goddess of hope herself, though the truth was lost to time. But one thing was real. Throw gold into the well and make a wish, and there was a chance of a reward. The more gold you threw, the richer the reward, though the odds of success were elusive and faint. Unless you were the first player to toss a coin and wish. For the first to wish, the odds of a reward were 100%. So just as the onlookers settled in to watch him make a fool of himself, light descended over Ryan, and every player present heard a deafening string of system prompts. System. Ding. Player. Name hidden, has successfully triggered the well's reward and obtained the Charging Wolf set. Asterisk. System. Ding. Player. Name hidden, has successfully triggered the well's reward and obtained the passive skill, Second Nature. Asterisk. System. Ding. Player. Comma. Damn it. Out of my way. I'm gonna make a wish too. The whole crowd went mad, flinging themselves at the well, greed blazing in their eyes. Ryan, meanwhile, simply stepped clear of the well and walked over to the dumbstruck Violet and her group at the gate. Follow my orders when the time comes. No problem with that. Right. Violet stared at him, eyes unfocused, an unprecedented flutter rising in her chest. Chapter 7, The Charging Wolf Set. Everyone, clear off. This area's been booked out by Slaughter the World. Over by the old well, Slaughtercharge had already led his men to ring off the spot, sweeping a hostile glare across the surrounding players. Why are you being such tyrants? We're all playing the same game. What gives you the right to keep us off this well? What gives us the right? Slaughtercharge sneered. Being tough enough, that's what. At that, his men brandished their weapons, the picture of menace. The surrounding players instinctively stepped back. They were just a scattering of loners. Even if banding together gave them the upper hand now, the day they ran into these people again, they'd suffer for it. Watching the players seethe in silence, Violet's brows knit, and she made to step forward and speak. Wait, let the fool play his game. We've got other things to discuss. Ryan reflexively caught her by the hand, and at that single touch, Violet's whole body gave a faint shiver. She hastily drew her jade hand back, her composure slipping into something flustered. Sorry, I acted on impulse. Ryan was embarrassed, realizing he'd overstepped. It's fine. Violet drew a deep breath and steadied herself. Now it was her companion's turn to be astonished. Was this still the big sister they knew? In the past, if a man had dared grab her hand like that, she'd have had him ground to dust on the spot. To shake off the awkwardness, Ryan changed the subject and began laying out the coming battle plan. Meanwhile, having seized the well, Slaughtercharge stood beside it preening. He pulled out a coin purse and tipped in over 100 gold, what was left after buying gear and supplies. Not as much as Ryan had thrown in, but a good half of it. Aping Ryan, he pressed his palms together, shut his eyes in a show of devotion, bowed to the well, and silently made his wish. The crowd held their breath, watching, waiting for the system prompt that would signal his success. 10 seconds passed. Nothing happened. A minute passed, and the well stirred not in the slightest. I don't believe it. Veins bulged at Slaughtercharge's temple, his face dark. Over 100 gold. Had it just gone down the drain? Maybe it wasn't enough. He dimly recalled that Ryan had thrown in a great deal of gold. Quick, hand over all your gold. His gaze hardened as it swung to his men. They started, hands flying instinctively to their pockets. Stop dawdling. Put the gold on my tab. I'll pay you back after. Slaughtercharge snapped, and finally pried gold from the other Slaughter the World members. 200 members, 1 gold each, a total that more than matched what Ryan had thrown in. That should do it, right? He muttered, dumping it all into the well and resuming his devout prayer. 10 minutes passed. The silent well stirred not at all. The proof was plain. Every gold coin Slaughtercharge had thrown in had gone straight down the drain. See, this is what they mean by the wicked getting their due. Slaughter the World hogs the well, and look, they just flushed their gold away. You said it. Serves them right. Most satisfying thing I've seen all day. The lone players murmured among themselves, and Slaughtercharge's whole face went green. His gaze swung to find Ryan, smiling at him from over by the gate, and rage boiled up from nowhere. As if he'd been ambushed, he heaped all the blame on Ryan in an instant. You wait, kid, this isn't over, Slaughtercharge panted, eyes fixed on the smiling Ryan. Ryan paid him no mind at all, simply turning to chat with Violet. I'll lose my mind. Asterisk. Slaughtercharge was livid, his heart bleeding. He'd just wasted over 300 gold, and it would come out of his own pocket. Over 300 gold, that meant roughly 70,000 Azure coin to cover the loss. And his monthly salary was only 50,000. Outplayed, and out a month and a half's wages in one stroke. It gnawed at him. He wanted to charge forward and grind Ryan to powder, scatter his ashes to the wind. But he couldn't. He couldn't make another mistake. There was still a boss to fight. Do well in the boss battle, and he might yet redeem himself. So he forced down his fury, telling himself again and again to stay calm. What on earth just happened? Violet was deeply curious, wishing at the well as a matter of chance. Put bluntly, it's pure luck, and for the unlucky, that well is a bottomless pit. Ryan smiled. Violet nodded, but recalling his earlier feat at the well, she couldn't help wondering. Since he wasn't telling, though, she didn't press. Everything's ready, we just need the wind. Now we only wait for the siege, Ryan said, finally finding a moment to check his rewards from the well. 300 gold had earned him 5 rewards in total. A black iron set, a passive skill, +1 level, +4 charm, and +1 luck. Ryan was now level 5, his charm up to 5, adding the 4 free points from levels 4 and 5 to luck brought it to 15. Second nature. Passive skill. You may equip gear up to 5 levels above your own. Asterisk. The skill paired perfectly with the Charging Wolf set. Charging Wolf Cuirass. Black Iron Grade. Defense +20, Constitution +5, Strength +5, Attack Speed +5%. Equip level 10. Charging Wolf Greaves. Black Iron Grade. Defense +20, Agility +5, Strength +5, Movement Speed +5%. Equip level 10. Charging Wolf Boots. Black Iron Grade. Defense +10, Agility +5, Strength +5, Movement Speed +10%. Equip level 10. Charging Wolf Mask. Black Iron Grade. Attack +10, Defense +10, Constitution +5, Strength +5, Attack Speed +5%. Equip level 10. Charging Wolf Bracers. Black Iron Grade. Attack +20, Agility +5, Strength +5, Attack Speed +5%. Equip level 10. As a black iron set, its set bonuses were naturally stronger still. Set bonus. 1. HP +200, Stamina +100, 2. Attack +20, Defense +10, 3. Charging Wolf. Active skill. On activation, attack speed +25% and movement speed +25% for 30 seconds. Cooldown. 1 hour. Asterisk. Swapping into the Charging Wolf set, Ryan looked over his transformed stats, the corner of his mouth lifting. System. Ding. The monster siege is about to begin. All players, prepare yourselves. Asterisk. System. 10, 9, 8, 7. A deafening system prompt rang out over Sunward Town's sky, and a charged, knife's edge tension rolled across the field. Chapter 8. One Man, One Gate. All right. Stick to the plan. The corner of Ryan's mouth curled, and he was the first to stride out of Sunward Town. Violet and the others followed. You do exactly as I said. As for Slaughter the World, I won't be letting them out. Ryan planted himself at the town gate, his gaze sinking. Grinding monsters to level didn't work for him. If he wanted to level, there was only one fast road: kill other players and plunder their express. And Slaughter the World's 200 players were, without question, already on his kill list. Name: Big Gun. Level: 5. Class: Non-combat. HP: 550 550ths. Stamina: 100 100ths. Attack: 60 + 70. Defense: 35 + 70. Attack speed bonus: 25%. Movement speed bonus: 15%. Combat attributes: Strength: 60 Constitution, 35 Agility, 30 Intelligence, 0 Spirit, 0. Fixed attributes: Charm, 5 Luck, 15. Talents: Penetration, Block, Combo. Skills: Second Nature, Charging Wolf. Decked out in black iron gear, Ryan's strength had exploded. Against Slaughtercharge's crew, top level a mere 4, it would be like plucking something from his pocket. The ordinary players came pouring out of Sunward Town, while Slaughtercharge's people, having held the well earlier, lagged behind. That spared Ryan a good deal of trouble. He simply bottled all of Slaughter the World up inside the town. Roar. Asterisk. A sky-splitting roar erupted. At the far edge of sight, yellow sand kicked up, and a boar king the size of a small hill came charging toward Sunward Town at the head of a 1,000-strong army. Soak up as much damage as you can. Leave Slaughter the World to me. Ryan reminded Violet, his gaze low. Big talk. Slaughtercharge and his crew had reached the gate by now, and Ryan's words landed squarely in his ears. Whether it's big talk, I couldn't say. But your luck, not so great. The corner of Ryan's mouth curled, a glint of amusement in his eyes. You're courting death. Slaughtercharge's face darkened. How could he not hear it? Ryan was mocking him over the well. After all, one of his people had given in and tossed a coin to try it too, and pulled a common grade piece on the spot. That had cut Slaughtercharge deep, and now Ryan was rubbing salt in it. He could no longer hold his fury. Charge together. Kill this guy for me. At his command, his men rushed out as one, bent on putting Ryan down. But the gate was only so wide, it let 10 men out abreast at most. Which played right into Ryan's hands. The system already granted him 10x attack speed and 10x movement speed. Paired now with his gear's speed bonuses, he held the gate alone. Sword rising and falling, ghastly damage numbers floated up over one head after another, and then, every one of them dissolved into a ball of white light and was gone. In moments, the town's exit was wreathed in dense white light. And in his ears rang prompt after blissful prompt. System. Ding. Player slain. Plundered 100 express and 1 point of strength. Asterisk. System. Ding. Player slain. Plundered 50 express. Asterisk. System. Ding. Player slain. Comma. 100 men, all cut down by Ryan in under a minute. Slaughter the World's remaining 100 finally came to their senses, eyes full of terror, not daring to take a single step closer. Ryan frowned at the sight. So they weren't stupid after all. Otherwise, wiping out all 200 would have been enough to push him to level 7. As it was, he'd only reached level 6. Ryan's ferocity was a bucket of cold water over Slaughtercharge's head, jolting him awake. You really insist on making an enemy of Slaughter the World. Knowing he was no match, Slaughtercharge fell back on the guild behind him. I'm just taking a man's coin to clear his troubles. If you want to blame someone, blame Clear Rain Pavilion. Ryan clearly wasn't buying it, his gaze cooled. Of course, if you're itching for grief, I'm happy to oblige to the end. HMPH. We'll see. Slaughtercharge's face sank. He shot a reluctant glance at the hill-sized jungle boar king in the distance, then waved a hand and led his people away. This isn't over. Asterisk. There was venom in Slaughtercharge's eyes. In the boar woods, his side had struck first, so the protection mechanism had kept the system from revealing any of Ryan's info, and with Ryan having hidden his identity during the stall trade, they'd never gotten a read on him. But just now, Slaughtercharge had played a clever card. When he ordered the charge, he disbanded the party. That way, some Slaughter the World members were killed by Ryan before they could register an attack, handing over his game name. Big gun. You just wait. Asterisk. A player this monstrous in the opening hours of the game was absolutely not normal. He must have used some trick to gain this kind of strength. Slaughtercharge's eyes narrowed, and a plan slowly took shape in his heart. On the other side, Ryan added his 2 free points from leveling to luck, then turned and charged the Boar King. In a monster siege, the final rewards were redeemed with points. Killing monsters and dealing damage to the boss both earned a measure of points. But point redemption was only one part of it. Killing the boss and the monsters still yielded item drops. And compared to ordinary field bosses, siege bosses had far higher drop rates. That was why, in his last life, so many guilds had bled and brawled over them. Boss. Jungle Boar King. Grade. Black Iron, Level 5. Description. Sovereign of the Boar Woods, commanding a host of 10,000 boars. Asterisk. HP. 99,431 hundred-thousandths. Stamina. 9,910 thousandths. Attack. 100. Defense. 60. Skills. Boar King's Charge, Boar King's Stomp, Boar King's War Roar. Asterisk. A 100,000 HP cap, worthy of a siege boss. In the open field, the Jungle Boar King's HP cap should have been a mere 10,000, the siege had buffed it tenfold. Its attack and defense were doubled too. Such stats were a nightmare for starter village players. Most were only level 3, unable to survive even a single blow from the Jungle Boar King. On top of that, a horde of boars rampaged around it, throwing the field into chaos. Short of dying and reviving over and over to whittle the boss down by sheer attrition, there was no other way. The game wasn't even 4 hours old, player levels and gear were still wretched. Fall back. Now, Ryan suddenly bellowed at the distant Violet. He'd seen the jungle boar king crouch low. Boom. Asterisk. With a thunderous crash, the hill-sized boar king leapt and brought its crushing weight down upon the earth. Boar King's stomp. The ground convulsed. White light blazed out from around the boar king. That single move instantly annihilated nearly 3,000 players. A starter village could hold a cap of 50,000 players, so that one stomp had wiped out over 1/20th of Sunward Town in a stroke. Chapter 9, Server First Kill. This boss is way too strong, isn't it? The crowd was beyond shaken. At this rate, it wouldn't be long before every player in Sunward Town was knocked back to level 0. One stomp from the Jungle Boar King, and many a hot-blooded player felt as if doused in cold water, suddenly timid, afraid to advance. Everyone wanted the rewards, but few were willing to charge up and throw their lives away for nothing. So this is the human heart. Recalling his own experience in his last life, Ryan sighed inwardly. What do we do? No one's willing to hold the front. We can't go on like this. Violet had pulled her people back. The Jungle Boar King rampaged as if through empty land, every attack claiming dozens of lives. Bring me into the party, Ryan said. But let's be clear up front. Whatever the boss drops, I pick first. No problem. Violet nodded without hesitation. System. Ding. Player. Big Gun. Requests to join your party. Accept. Asterisk. Big Gun. Violet started, sizing up the man before her again, a flicker of shock in her chest. If she remembered right, the Jungle Boar King had appeared because of him. Pairing that with the batch of gear he'd put up and his antics at the well, she couldn't help but feel a grudging admiration for this player called Big Gun. Heaven's Descent had players beyond counting, but those who could amass this kind of edge single-handed in the early game were rarest of the rare. Remember to change the party name, Ryan reminded her. A server first kill ought to pull in plenty of fame for your guild, no? He was that confident. Violet was briefly stunned. This boss had a full 100,000 HP. She'd just seen what one of its skills could do, wiping out a swath of players in the blink of an eye. What are you spacing out for? Grab your weapon and follow me, Ryan urged. A siege boss was different from an ordinary one. The Jungle Boar King gained express from killing players, and once that express filled up, it would level, fully restoring its HP and raising all its stats, making it far harder to handle. So the Jungle Boar King had to be killed sooner rather than later. The longer it dragged on, the worse for them. Right, Violet answered, changed the party name to Clear Rain Pavilion, and hurried after him. Meanwhile, inside Sunward Town, Slaughtercharge heard the news from his men and couldn't help his mouth curling up. Eyes narrowed, he said, "Ha, who knew this Jungle Boar King was so fierce? In that case, we'll just hole up in the village and stay out of it. Big Gun and that Violet woman want to swallow the boss. I'd love to watch the boss knock them back to level 0. Brilliant. Boss charge. When they all drop to level 0, the whole of Sunward Town will answer to slaughter the world. HMPH. Take notes." Slaughtercharge narrowed his eyes in deep satisfaction. On the open plain outside Sunward Town, a figure in black armor was hacking ceaselessly at the hill-like Jungle Boar King. Footwork exquisite, attack angles wicked and sharp, and astonishingly, suppressing the Boar King outright. Damn, who is this guy? An NPC, surely. That attack speed, that movement speed, that power, too strong. Obviously an NPC. Otherwise how would players like us ever kill a siege boss? Way too fierce. If only I could be that strong someday. The onlookers stared dumbstruck at the lone man overpowering the boss, envy written all over their faces. Be big sister, he. Incredible. Violet's beautiful eyes were locked on Ryan's back, her gaze blank. If holding the gate and forcing back Slaughtercharge's crew had stunned her, his performance now overturned everything she thought she knew about this game. -90, -91, -92, -93. A cascade of red damage numbers floated up over the Jungle Boar King's head. Composed as ever, Ryan's gear bonuses paired with his monstrous attack speed to give him 12 strikes per second. which meant his damage to the Jungle Boar King topped 1000 a second, and with the combo talent adding 1 damage per consecutive hit, as time passed his damage would climb to terrifying heights. Exhilarating. For Ryan, mid-battle, that was the only word for it. 10x attack speed paired with 10x movement speed let him dodge the boss's blows entirely while landing relentless counters. At this rate, never mind 100,000 HP, he could grind a boss with 1,000,000 HP to death. And his damage was only rising. 10 seconds flew by, and the damage per stroke had climbed from 90 to 200. Keep this up another half minute, and so long as his combo wasn't broken, he'd kill the 100,000 HP Jungle Boar King outright. For Ryan, it was a thoroughly satisfying fight. For the players watching, it was a visual feast. No way. I have to record this and post it on the official Heaven's Descent forums. This is too cool. Anyone know this NPC's name? I've never seen him. A hidden NPC, maybe. Could be. Better keep a close eye on him. Maybe he's carrying some hidden quest. If you're lucky enough to land a hidden class advancement quest off him, you're set. Ha ha ha. Hearing the chatter around her, Violet, who knew the truth, could only smile wryly. Hidden NPC. This was a player. Her eyes stayed fixed on his figure, and she made a quiet decision. She would find any way she could to recruit him into Clear Rain Pavilion. And even if she failed, she absolutely would not make an enemy of him. A super player like this, as a foe, who wouldn't have nightmares? At the thought, she found herself almost pitying Slaughter the World. Combo registered when you went a second without taking a hit and landed another strike on the enemy. Drawing on his rich combat experience from his last life and the system's tenfold acceleration, Ryan moved through the Jungle Boar King and its horde like a fish through water, every motion flowing. Die. Asterisk. One sword thrust drove straight into the Jungle Boar King's belly. Boom. Asterisk. Light burst in all directions, the Jungle Boar King's body crashed to the ground. Gear and items scattered everywhere, and a system prompt thundered across the sky of the 9 Provinces server. System. Ding. Congratulations to Sunward Town's Clear Rain Pavilion squad for slaying the Jungle Boar King and completing the server-wide first kill of a starter village monster siege boss. Reward. All members plus 2 levels. All members plus 10,000 reputation. 1 starter village honorary villager badge. Asterisk. System. Ding. Sunward Town has successfully repelled the Jungle Boar King's assault. All participating players plus 1 level, plus 100 reputation. Asterisk. Comma. The earth-shaking prompt looped a full 3 times before it finally stopped. While the crowd stood dazed by the announcement, Ryan moved fast, sweeping up every important item on the ground, then spinning on his heel and sprinting into Sunward Town. Sunward Tavern, 3rd floor private room. Assemble there. Asterisk. He fired off a private message to Violet and strode away. And the moment they came to, the players of Sunward Town simply detonated on the spot. Chapter 10, Looting the Boar King's Lair. # looting the Boar King's Lair. Did I hear that right? It was Clear Rain Pavilion's people. That guy wasn't an NPC. Damn, that's hacking. I'm reporting them. Clear Rain Pavilion is amazing. I want to join Clear Rain Pavilion. Comma. Voices clamored. Outside Sunward Town was pure chaos. Violet and her people quickly swapped back into starter gear and scattered, slipping away from the field. What? They killed the boss. How is that possible? Didn't it have 100,000 HP, and wasn't it that strong? How did it go down in under a minute? Inside Sunward Town, Slaughtercharge was dumbfounded. Someone recorded it live. You can see for yourself. One of his men stepped up and opened a link from the forums, playing the video. It's him. Big Gun. Slaughtercharge's gaze sank, his voice cold. I didn't have proof before that he was hacking and wrecking game balance. Well, now I've got this video plus eyewitnesses. This time I'll get his account banned for sure. Boss Charge, we didn't lose out either, free level up. HMPH, why don't you mention that Clear Rain Pavilion's lot gained 2 levels? Slaughtercharge frowned. In Sunward Town, the only force that could stand against them was Clear Rain Pavilion, and now their whole crew was up 2 levels. For Slaughter the World, that was hardly good news. On top of the rewards they'd gotten from killing the boss, no less. I'm logging off to deal with Big Gun. The rest of you, pick up the pace on leveling, hear me? Yes sir. HMPH. Big gun. I'll make sure you choke on this. His face dark, Slaughtercharge logged off where he stood. Meanwhile, in a third-floor private room in Sunward Town sat a man and a woman, Ryan and Violet, just off their collaboration. The table was piled with a dazzling spread of items and gear. We barely lifted a finger killing that boss, so divide the spoils however you see fit. Violet eyed the loot heaped on the table, sorely tempted. But the Jungle Boar King had truly been felled by Ryan alone, so she couldn't bring herself to interfere much in the split. Ryan looked at her, surprised. In his eyes, guilds were profit first to a one. He hadn't expected Violet to leave the division to him. Rare indeed. She'd already paid. After all, at the end of the day he was just a hired blade. But since she'd put it that way, Ryan didn't stand on ceremony. He swept up a faintly glowing boar's horn and said, "I'll take just this. As for the rest, if your people can afford it, buy it outright." Violet started. Among the loot were 7 or 8 black iron grade pieces, and he wanted none of them. "But, we don't have that much gold." She frowned. The guild was pouring its money into a hidden quest right now and couldn't free up enough to cover this much gear. "Azure coin transfer works too," Ryan said. "I'll let the lot go for 1 million Azure coin. Not pricey, is it?" "Not at all. Give me your account. I'll send it right now." Violet brightened. What Clear Rain Pavilion lacked was gold. Azure coin, they had in spades. System. Ding. Your account ending in 6618 has received a transfer of 1 million Azure coin. Asterisk. 1 million Azure coin in hand, Ryan rose, said his goodbyes to Violet, and left the room. System. Ding. Player. Violet, requests to add you as a friend. Accept. Asterisk. Ryan paused, hesitated a few seconds, then tapped accept. He felt good enough about Violet. One more friend, one more road. A solid choice. If you get any gear in the future, remember to sell to Clear Rain Pavilion first. We'll give you a fair price, guaranteed. Will do. After messaging Violet back, Ryan didn't head to Victor Fane's residence to finish the quest. Instead he slipped quietly out of Sunward Town and made for the Boar Woods. With the Jungle Boar King dead, its lair should still hold plenty of good things. He wasn't about to let them go to waste. He was level 8 now, sitting at the top of Sunward Town's level rankings. That last battle had earned him a full 10,000 Sunward Town points, and pushed the Infinite Plunder and Acceleration Systems Express to 50,000. Killing the Jungle Boar King had triggered Attribute Plunder too, adding 10 Strength and 10 Constitution, his overall stats up another notch. And killing the boss had granted a Starter Village Honorary Villager Badge. Starter Village Honorary Villager Badge, a symbol of honor in the Starter Village. Base attributes +20, charm +5, luck +2, express gain rate +20%. Bound. Big gun. A badge like this took effect just by sitting in your bag. It only cost a single slot. Here it is. With the system's 10x movement speed, Ryan soon reached a gloomy cave deep in the Boar Woods. He took out a torch he'd bought in advance and stepped inside. System. Ding. You have discovered the special scene, Boar King's Lair. Asterisk. The deeper he went, the more the acrid stench thickened, but for the good things waiting inside, Ryan endured it. Soon he reached the cave's end, a stone chamber lit by flickering firelight, with 5 stout boars sprawled at its mouth. Boar King Guard, elite boars that guard the Boar King's lair, powerful in their own right. HP. 1500, attack, 40, defense, 30, level, 5. For ordinary players, these guards might be hard to handle in such a dim, cramped cave. For Ryan, they weren't worth mentioning. He darted forward and dispatched them in a few quick strokes, swept up the loot, and stepped into the stone chamber. Truffle wine. Once consumed, base attributes +1. Usage limit. 10 times. Asterisk. Good stuff. Ryan's eyes lit up, and he cleaned out every bottle of truffle wine in the chamber. Jungle ring. Bronze grade. Agility +10, strength +10, attack speed +10%. Camouflage. Blend into your surroundings to become nearly undetectable. You cannot move while camouflaged. Asterisk. Bronze grade. The corner of his mouth curled. He slipped the ring on, stats rising again. Sweeping the whole chamber clean, Ryan came away with 100 gold, some potions, 4 black iron pieces, and a few common items. He stowed it all, opened his contacts, messaged Violet, and sent over screenshots of the items, stats. Same place as before for the trade. But just then, a thread had been pinned to the top of the forums, wall to wall with hard proof that the player Big Gun was hacking and wrecking game balance. More and more players piled into the discussion, and it spiraled out of control. ### Victor Fane's letter of introduction. System. Ding. Your account ending in 6618 has received a transfer of 1 million Azure coin. Asterisk. Another million Azure coin in hand, Ryan finally let out a slow breath. It was still a long way from 1 billion, but for him right now, it was a good start. In his last life, his sister Lucy Gunn had contracted a rare disease that required 1 billion Azure coin to cure. In the end, before he could scrape the money together, she'd held on no longer and passed away. So in this life, he had to plan ahead, use his last life's experience to gather 1 billion Azure coin as fast as he could, and cure his sister. 3 months left. I have to make the most of every moment. Ryan frowned, his gaze sinking. What is it? Something on your mind? Having just taken in another batch of premium loot, Violet was clearly in good spirits, but sensing the heavy air around Ryan, she knit her brows and asked. It's nothing. I'll trouble you to keep an eye on Slaughter the World for me. If they make any move, let me know right away. Don't worry, you're Clear Rain Pavilion's partner now. If they dare pull anything, I'll be the first to come down on them. Thanks, I've got things to do, so I'll head off first. Ryan said his goodbyes and left the tavern. Watching his retreating figure, Violet's eyes went distant. For some reason, she sensed a thread of loneliness and isolation about him, something that, by rights, had no business clinging to a boy of 17 or 18. Chief, I've found the other ingredients. Ryan called out in Victor Fane's courtyard. Bang! The door flew open under a kick, and the white-haired Victor Fane appeared, leaning on his cane, eyes fixed on Ryan with excitement. You mean it? Whether I mean it, bring out the rest of the ingredients and try, and you'll know. The corner of Ryan's mouth curled, calm and assured. Good, come with me. Victor Fane returned indoors, went to a study off the side, and shifted the books on a shelf in a precise sequence. With a creaking groan, the shelf against the wall slowly split apart to either side, revealing a deep tunnel. Fane led the way, and the two soon arrived at a sealed underground stone chamber. It was no small space. Fist-sized night luminous pearls were set into the walls, lighting the whole chamber bright. At its center stood 2 waist-high stone platforms, each about 5 meters across, one bearing a purple gold alchemy furnace, the other a forging anvil. Come with me. Fane led Ryan to the platform with the alchemy furnace. With a clang, he opened the furnace, drew out several ingredients, and set them on the ground. Give it a try. Ryan took out the Boar King's horn and the fire spirit fruit, set them with the ingredients on the ground, then drew out the tattered, antique prescription and brought it close. A brown gold light kindled from the old prescription, instantly wrapping around the ingredients. That's it. The formula's right. Ha 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 ha. Victor Fane suddenly burst into laughter, weeping for joy, excited tears streaming down his wrinkled face. After so many years, he'd been ready to give up, and now this young man had worked a miracle and truly found the right ingredients. From here, if he could refine the elixir, the deed was as good as done. Young brother, thank you. Fane said earnestly. This is your reward. System. Ding. Congratulations, you have obtained the hidden item, Victor Fane's letter of introduction. Just one reward, but enough to thrill Ryan to the core. This was the gateway to the hidden class Mystic Spirit Alchemist. With this letter, he could enter the Mystic Spirit Medicine King's tutelage directly. Now, I'm about to begin refining the elixir. Would you be willing to lend me a hand? Fane's next words froze Ryan on the spot. What? This quest had a continuation. But the guide he'd read had the quest ending right here. What was going on? Never mind that. If there's more, then more it is. He was already guaranteed a profit, and the follow-up rewards might be richer still. At your command, I'll give it everything I have. Ryan said gravely. See that smithing anvil over there? Fane raised a withered hand toward the other platform. Go there, work the bellows and kindle the fire, and refine 9 fire seeds to give to me. Ryan nodded and went to the other platform. Remember, as you work the bellows, mind the flames' flow and intensity, complement them as best you can, or you'll refine no fire seed at all. Fane cautioned, then bent to take up a heap of tools and began processing the ingredients. Refining fire seeds, this was the first Ryan had heard of such a thing. In his last life, his life class had been blacksmith, and an experienced one. He'd spent his days at the anvil, every piece from his hands fine enough to sell briskly on the market. But refining fire seeds at a smithing anvil, that he'd never heard of, nor did he know the point of it. Still, since Fane had asked, he could only settle his mind and refine the seeds as the quest demanded. And the moment he started, Ryan met with bitter failure. Experienced as he was, the motions came easily, but achieving the bellows and flame harmony Fane spoke of was monstrously hard. With his current control, he could chain a dozen odd successful motions at most, any more, and as the flame strengthened, its flow grew unpredictable, and matching it perfectly became as hard as climbing to heaven. I didn't expect it to be this difficult, Ryan muttered, caught off guard. Chain 36 successful bellows and flame matches, and you can refine 1 fire seed, Fane said, glancing at his progress. Brute force won't control the flame. Try another angle. Settle your mind, adapt to the flame's rhythm, feel it breathe. Rhythm, breathe. Ryan frowned, turning it over carefully. Fane's words seemed to open a brand new door for him, and his shock gave way to excitement. Fail, again, fail, again. Time after time, he adjusted and practiced. At last, Ryan began to grasp the breathing rhythm of the flame, his bellows work growing more practiced. Not bad, a fine seedling. Fane stroked his beard, satisfied. Asterisk in a single day, he's already feeling out the flame's rhythm. Astonishing talent. Asterisk.